Alright, hi everybody. Today we're going to try to do a quick collision tutorial. A little different. We're going to kind of pump right through this guy. So first of all, we need a mesh to test the collision on. So we'll import this SM ring here. And if you look in the import settings, these are the ones you want to pay attention to. I'll go over those in a little bit. So we'll import those in, pull our ring into our scene, and then let's duplicate that a few times. Alright, so now we have that in there. Let's play. And you'll notice that I can't go through. Alright, so that's what we're here to fix today. So if you look up here in your menu, you can go to Player Collision, and you'll see that it imported the mesh, but it made its own collision mesh, and it doesn't have that concave cutout in the middle. So let's open up our ring. And if you take this eyeball down here, you can look at the simple collision. It'll still show that you're basically blocking out the middle of it. So if you scroll down on the right hand side here, go to collision settings, and go down instead of project default here, change that over to use complex as simple. Now you're going to use that complex collision of the actual mesh instead of the simple. So let's save that, go out. Now let's replay from here and I'll show you what we get. And now you can zoom through, but when you try to go through the sides, you knock off them. Okay? But the problem with that is you don't really want to use complex collision unless you really have to. Complex collision is basically just for kind of in extreme circumstances. It's much slower. So we want to make our own simple collision. So let's open back up our ring. Let's show the simple collision again, and now it shows our complex and simple. Let's go back down and turn that back to project default. Boom. And now you have our simple collision. So how do we fix this? First, let's remove our collision. Go up to here or here on the toolbar and go remove collision. And then you can add in any of these here, like a sphere, capsule, box, whatever you want. And actually, when you get that in there, you can actually scale that. So you can use the normal controls that you use and scale scale this right here. So say we scale that down like that, move it over, and then you can even copy that. So we'll copy it, Control CV, and then copy it again. And then we can scale it down like that. And then maybe scale this open. And we're making it really simple now just because I'm going quick, but you could actually follow the design a little bit better. Like that. And now you have a new box collision. So save that. Go back to your scene. We can view the collision from here. Player collision again, and you can see now it has those boxes. Now let's go back to lit, Alt P, and you'll see we can fly right through, but we do get stuck on the edges. Okay, so let me show you. That's another way to do it, and let me show you even one more. Actually, there's a couple more. So let's open up our ring again, show our player collision here with the eyeball. All right, and then let's remove it. And now we can, there's actually a way to make convex collision in Unreal. So we'll open up one of these collision rollouts, either up here on the toolbar or down here. And you can go auto convex collision here. And you'll see it opens up this tab down here at the bottom. It says hull count, max verts, and hull precision. Let's do hull count because we're going to try to follow this ring. Do 8. Max verts, we'll just pump it up. Now play with these values as you will. And then hull precision, let's just add a 0 to this to make that, what is that, 1,000,000? Yeah, it looks like 1,000,000. So let's just hit apply. And it'll process and try to follow the mesh around. And you can see there's our new collision. These are little, it broke it down into little chunks, so you can grab each one and pull them out if you want. But there you go. Let's save that. Dump that down. And if you go to here, player collision, you can see it again. And you can play with those settings to get better results. Alt-P. Again, we're flying right through and hitting into the sides. So that's one more way. So what is the last way, you ask? The last way is actually building the collision in your 3D package. And then importing that into Unreal. So let me show you that real quick. Okay, so now in your 3D modeling package, you can see I have made a collision hull-ish thing over here, and here's my original. So if you look, you have to title it UCX_ring. And my main one is called ring. So as long as it has that UCX_ in front of it, let's put these over each other. Select them both. File, export. Export it to the SM ring. Drop that down. Back to Unreal. We have to delete these out. We'll redo it. Delete our ring. Re-import. Import that ring back in. Now we'll go to those settings that I was showing you earlier. It says import collisions here, according to mesh name. And then instead of this one convex hull per UCX, because it'll just make another convex hull that'll fill in that ring, let's just untick that, hit import, pull her in, make a couple copies. And then we can look at our collision again up here. And you can see now it's imported. You try using that UCX hull that we created in an external software. So if you open up your ring, you go back to the simple collision view, you'll notice that it breaks apart that into a bunch of little pieces. So it really is a matter of playing around with those different methods. This is getting a little complex this way, so you might want to go with one of the first couple of methods that I showed, where you actually generate it just in Unreal on its own. So one other thing I wanted to show you before I go is that you can actually copy collision from one thing to another. So let's say we'll just remove this collision here, and then we'll use this just to make a goofy collision. Let's just say that one. It's the one, I think that's the one that we started with, really. If you go into the collision window and you go copy selected collision, and let's say you open something else. Let's get this back to regular view. So let's now open a different model, like the box here. Let's show the collision again. You can see how it just surrounds the box, but we can also Control V and copy the collision from the other thing onto the box, and you can make different parts and add them together. Now, why is that good? Well, because you can make collision meshes based on other meshes and then reuse those kind of over and over for any meshes. So this is a good way that if you don't want to always a million times do it, or maybe you can make a more basic mesh in the modeling software, have this auto-generate it. A lot of different options, pretty powerful. But again, like I said, this was a quick hitter, and I wanted to go relatively fast to see how fast we could do it. And I hope this was informative, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks a lot.